It's pretty much unimaginable to live in a place that's freezing, all ice, and bright and surrounded by just ocean. However, there are species that thrive in such places. Even better, they boast a fearless attitude. If you guessed it right, then yes, I'm talking about the polar bear or Ursus maritimus, a white apex predator of the icy region in the north. Now, something that makes them stand out as in, make them unique among their uh, counterparts in the bear community, is the bright white fur that helps them blend in the snow covered land of the Arctic. But as we delve deeper into the story, we will also learn that what lies beneath this white fur and if it's really white. Today, on this episode of Daily Podcast, I'm joined by Miss Nanuq, the ambassador of the polar bear community. She has been extensively working to spread awareness regarding the impact of climate change on the habitat of the polar bears. A fact to get us started: the scientific name for polar bear translates to sea bear, which is apt for their habitat. More on that soon. But before that, let's start. Glad to have you here, Miss Nanuq. How about I let you introduce yourself and we can begin from there. I would love to. Hi, I'm Nanuq, a polar bear from the Arctic. I have spent much of my life talking about the issues of climate change and their impact on my community's habitat. I am glad to be on this show today so that I can talk about my community and engage on the topic of the threats my community faces as our world changes. Thank you for this wonderfully brief introduction. I mean, I could start anywhere, but since we have already brought up the topic of habitat, how about you take us through this thing, the habitat of polar bears? What is it? The Arctic. What's the kind of place it is to live in? What is it all about, the life there? How does it feel like to be in such a what kind of place is it? You know? Yes, that's a wonderful point to start with. Polar bears live in Arctic, majorly we are found in the Arctic area. We can also be found in Canada, Greenland, Svalbard, Norway, Russia, and Alaska in the USA. We do often, rarely though, sorry, I not often, but rarely, on rare occasions, we do, however, swim from Greenland across the Denmark Strait to Iceland. There are no polar bears on Iceland, but we do swim till there through the Denmark Strait. Now, about Arctic as a place, I'm pretty sure you all know it's the northernmost region of Earth, centered on the North Pole, and essentially it's known for its distinctive polar conditions in all its climate, plant and animal life, and other physical features. The name Arctic is from the Greek word arctos, which means bear, which refers to the northern constellation of the bear. Um, it has a lot of extreme conditions. In winter, it's freezing cold, as you could have guessed, but in summers, it is slightly warmer than when it's in winter. Although it's still cool, maybe compared to other areas in the world, but it's still slightly warmer than winter. Uh, Although in the northern areas, snow and ice don't melt, but in the lower areas, all sorts of plants from grasses, shrubs, and other small plants do exist. Um, we There's a permanent, like a permafrost, like the ground is frozen all year long. But but the top layer, the topmost layer of the land, does soften a little bit during summer. Um, it might come as a surprise, but Arctic, about 60% of it's not covered with ice. And yeah, and summers in Arctic are short, but how much ever, like, whatever summer bit we have, it's really helpful in growing, helping the plants grow and help life move on, and give life a little push. When one pictures Arctic, it's all snow. But it's really interesting to know that much of it isn't covered in ice. Um, your community, but still it lives in the part that does have snow. I mean, your white fur is a consequence of that. It's for camouflage. How about you take us through it? Give us a little insight into the white fur, the thing that makes you unique. Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah. Um, see, so many, so as you said, this fight for is a consequence of our our fact that we live in such a cold place, the Arctic, and we have to merge with the snow. We have to camouflage. We have to. It's a camouflage. It's a survival thing. Um, Essentially, all of the physical things that we have, it's there. It's there solely for the fact that we must maintain our body heat and should be able to deal with the icy habitat of Arctic. Uh, um so the white fur that we have, it's not because our fur has some natural color of white. It's actually because our fur is hollow and it reflects light. And when it reflects light, it reflects white, the white color, the color white, and it helps us in remaining camouflaged. But the skin that's under our fur is actually the opposite of white. It's black, and the nose that we have, it's black, and that's evidence of the fact that we have black skin under the white fur. We also have a thick layer of fat under our skin, under the surface of our skin, which essentially acts as insulation. It traps heat and helps us remain warm in the freezing winter of Arctic. It's also helpful in swimming because the water is cold, and it just insulates you against the coolness of the water. Our large size is also very helpful in trying to reduce how much cold our body takes in, how much cold our body is exposed to. So essentially, everything that's in our structure is designed for us to survive in the Arctic. Absolutely. I mean, consequently, because of all the defense against the heat, you guys, you said large size and all that. How much do polar bears weigh? Um, Polar bears weigh 800 to 1,300 pounds for males, and about 300 to 700 for pounds for females. For all you kilogram folks out there, that is about 363 to 590 kg for males, and about 136 to 318 kg for females. That's the rough estimate. So a male, for perspective, would weigh essentially roughly the same as a blue whale's heart. Right, we are pretty heavy. You mentioned your body being large to protect against cold. I'm repeating the point. How large are we talking about? Like no, height wise, how tall are we talking here? Um, Polar bears are about 6 to 9 feet tall. That would be about 1.8 to 2.7 meters in length. So the minimum, the minimum height, the lower bar, essentially is like same as a standard door that you would have. Yeah, yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay. Um, you have a large height, you have a large weight. So given all of this thing, you must have a lot of mass, and the larger you are, the more you need to survive. What do you eat to survive? Like, what's the diet for polar bears? Unlike other bear species, very similar to how the giant pandas are very different from the bear community in the fact that they are herbivores, we are quite the opposite. We are carnivores. Uh, Bears mostly are omnivores, but we are carnivores. We are mostly meat eaters. We our main diet includes seals, ringed seal, bearded seals. Yes, what we do is that seals often they come up on the surface to breathe when they are underwater, and when the seal comes out on the surface to breathe, we grab them, uh, we we will either bite them, or we'll grab them and pull them out onto the land to feed on them. We do, however, also sometimes eat walruses or whale carcasses, or whale dead bodies, or bird eggs and other food sources. But bird eggs and some other tiny food sources, they aren't enough to, as you said, we have a large body mass, so this much food is not enough to sustain this thing, or the dense populations that we have. Another vital important food source is seal pups. They are born, they live in Arctic ice dens, and what we do is we through smell and other sorts of markers, we try and find these dens, and then just we'll either pounce through the roof. Yeah, we'll pounce through the roof of the den, and we capture the young seals. In the Arctic, we polar bears are we are the top of the food chain. We eat everything, and nothing eats us. We are the largest carnivorous land mammals on Earth. We spend about 50% of our time hunting for food. Wow, I pretty scary stuff there. Living in Arctic must come with challenges, or not. Does, absolutely does. But then nature has, given us the required material, if you may, to make it through such a place. The polar bears, since it's obvious ice is slippery to walk on, so we have these footpaths that are like non-slippery, that are they have we they allow us to get traction on the ice, the slippery ice, and we are able to walk on it without slipping. um, we also have strong legs, and our feet are large, but you would have seen on the pictures the feet with a little bit of webbing between the toes, which helps us in swimming and walking on ice. Um, and the wide paws, they ensure that our weight, because we are heavy, does not break the sea ice. Wide paws, more surface area, so the pressure, I think, you will understand, it's basic physics. Um, because of these characteristics, especially the webbed feet, we are considered as marine mammals. Unlike the other bear species, we are marine mammals. We are counted in the likes of seals, sea lions, walruses, whales, and dolphins. But we are still bears. We just have certain difference, and that's we are marine. We are more marine oriented. We're more sea oriented than other bears. We our ancestor is the brown bear. We evolved from it like about 1 to 3 million years ago. The brown bear, our ancestor, they still some of them still are found in the northern shore of the Arctic oceans. But unlike us, they're um very small, and they can eat almost anything, and they have low reproductive rates, while we need steel to survive. Evolution is something that separates many species that are from the same family. Evolution has it's evolution is like this sort of deception. On up front, something seems completely different, like, oh, this thing is definitely not related to this species, but then you trace the roots of the species back and you find a common ancestor, and then everything just falls apart. How evolution has, I mean, we have in my previous episode, we talked to the giant we talked about the giant panda, and evolution has separated them from the rest of the bears. How has it separated your community from the rest of the bear community, you from your ancestor the brown bear? Like, what has it done aside from what you just said, the fact that you are counted as marine animals instead of just bear species? um yeah, you're totally right. Evolution can cause a lot of deception. It can make you think that two species are related, and then you wouldn't know that it turns out they are not related. They are completely unrelated. We have evolved also very different from our ancestor. One thing is that we don't make dens. All the brown bears do. We don't. Um, we, and that's because. So the thing is that, unlike other the bears, um, when food gets covered in snow during winter, because they're omnivorous, some food can get covered in snow. They must take this. They must dance because there is nothing to eat. But for us, that's not the case, because the food that we eat, still, it's present all through winter. It's all always there, so we don't have to den to eat. However, um there's exception. Pregnant adult female polar bears, they have to den because the environment is too cold for the polar bear babies, their cubs. They can die due to the freezing temperatures of Arctic. So because the dens are about 38 degrees Fahrenheit or 3.3 degrees Celsius warmer than the outside temperature, the pregnant adult females, they have to den to keep their newborn babies warm. Um, that brings me to the question, like, what sort of life do you guys live? What's what constitutes the life of a polar bear? What are some points about life of a polar bear you would like to share? We polar bears are very solitary. I mean, there are exceptions, excluding the mating part, the part where the female has to raise her cubs, or when a food source attracts us. Aside from these few exceptions, we are very solitary. We live alone. We love solitude. Yeah. The other thing is, we polar bears we are clean freaks. We like to keep ourselves clean because it helps with the insulating properties of our furs. If the fur is like dirty, matted, it's wet due to all the hunting that we have done, it's not able to insulate us. It's just imagine, like, you have your ACs, heaters, AC heaters, whatever you have, and you're trying to use it, but it's maybe clogged, it's dirty, so it's not able to work properly. Something very similar goes on with the fur due to all the dirt and mat and wet. It does not work as an insulator. So after we are done eating, we usually wash ourselves by either swimming or rolling in the snow. We also often roll in the snow to, you know, cool off, chill ourselves a little. I mean, it's weird to think about it, but despite the fact that we come from this place that is literally chill, like a living refrigerator, if you may, we are prone to overheating. Well, um, I remember earlier you said that polar bears don't have a predator. But would that really be true given your IUCN status? For the information of our viewers, polar bears are classified as vulnerable on the IUCN Red List. I talked about the list in my previous episode, so you can go and watch that if you want. So yes, Miss Nanuq, what would you classify or call as your biggest predator? Climate change, and the worst part is nature hasn't given us any defense against it. Oh, you know um suggested by our specific scientific name, we ursus maritimus, we spend a lot of time in sea than we do on land. It's on the Arctic ice that we live. It's our home. Arctic ice is our home, which is why climate change is such a serious threat to us. We are top of the food chain. We play an important role in the overall marine environment, the health of the marine environment. Um, we are even part of the culture and economy of the Arctic people. So so much depends on us. So if something is going wrong with us, um, it's crucial to address it. I mean, we are facing a lot. I mean, our fur, the white fur, the insulating thing that's supposed to protect us from certain things, is kind of becoming the weakness that climate change is sort of utilizing against us. The warming is happening, but we are not evolving to live along with that warming, that change. Do you expect positivity in the future for your community? Do you expect that in the future things will change? That it will not be the same as it is today. Things will go, maybe not go back to where it is, but maybe gets just enough better for you guys to survive and live more life on Earth, see more years on Earth. Yes, always have. I've always will be positive about the future of our community. But the thing is that there isn't much our community can do on its own. I can do this, that what I'm doing right now is come on these platforms and talk about the issues that address our home, the issues that are causing our homes to disappear. But whatever big changes that must happen, that must come from you guys. Um, Take for example, in the Hudson Bay, Canada, the polar bear populations have dropped by 20% because the sea ice is shrinking. And the reduction in the shrinking ice is reducing our hunting season. We are not getting what we must get to survive, and that's impacting how many of our cubs get to survive. Uh, in the same Hudson Bay, the ice free season that's increased by 20 days in over the span of 20 years, which I said has cut down the hunting season by 3 weeks. And so our weight has reduced by like 15%. Fewer cubs are surviving because of that, and that means there isn't a lot of future generations to carry on our species. Um, it's just not there, it's all over other places where we stay, even in Alaska's north coast and other, they show that our populations are getting affected due to this. The melting ice, it's moving, sea ice, it's moving farther from shore. That means we have to swim longer to reach ice platforms, which is very dangerous for us. Um, and because of that, we can face exhaustion during swims. There's this example from 2011 where a female polar bear swam for 9 days and she lost about 22% of her weight and her cub. Uh, this is pretty sad. And again, food is getting affected. We survive on seals, and shrinking of the ice means that they are getting affected, so we are getting affected. And so much so, we have gotten into this cannibalistic behavior where polar bears are preying on other bears to survive, which was not seen before. That was not present, but because we don't have a lot of food to eat now, we are stuck with this thing. Um, and the the whole human development thing that's going on, where you explore the ocean floor, you extract oil, and move oil from one place to another, which can often cause oil spills, we have threatened our habitats. So there's a need for all of this to stop. uh, Change ways. I mean there are definitely efforts. There are efforts at reducing carbon emissions and fighting climate change, but my only concern is, are the efforts enough? Because if they aren't, then I don't really see a positive future for us. But I think we should not lose hope, because I believe you guys can and will try to fix these problems for us, because you have to help us survive. What's happening isn't just happening to us, it's impacting our home. And I mean, you folks wouldn't want a home of an entire species to just get destroyed. So I think you can do it, and I hope you will. Absolutely. We people have the opportunity, and we need the will stronger to help your community through such tough times. I think efforts, even little bit, should count. But the thing is, more people should put the effort. The more the effort, the better chances of survival. And this whole world is connected. What is haunting you today will definitely come to haunt us tomorrow. Exactly. Miss Nanuq, it was a wonderful experience to have you on my show today. I hope I hope that you loved here, because I have learned a lot from polar bears from you, and I hope so did my viewers. Together we pray that the best for you and your community in the future. I would really love to have you again on my show. Thank you. I would love to come here again and talk more about polar bears. Thank you. As we end this episode, a reminder to subscribe for more entertaining and informative podcasts in the future. Signing off for today. Until next time.